So how do people build the right operating system for their Claude Code setup?
Yeah, I would say this is something that it's the main way is you kind of use it, and then you probably, like, even here we haven't really been doing stuff in the system. So every file that Claude has been making has been keep getting kind of like dumped out here, and then now we have to figure out, where should it go in the overall system. So just figuring out, like, where should the context layer live, like are the types of information that you want to easily be able to provide to Claude Code. Where does that live? What are the different types? And then the other thing is thinking about, okay, well, I'm not just going to have this be a static workplace where I'm just going to only reference, say, oh, hey, in my knowledge folder, like I have these different people I work with. I have like stuff about my company. You're actually going to be creating new work as well and figuring out where that should go. So I'll just do kind of a quick kind of rundown of the system that I have found works really well. I'm talking to other PMs. I think it's a good starting place. And of course, you'll customize it yourself. So for things where you just want to be able to reference that don't change very often, having just a knowledge folder with some of like the key things that you want to be able to say, hey, Claude, um, I have a meeting with David Chen, who in this case is, we'll say it's the director of core, it's your direct manager. These are the things that they care about. How should I structure, this piece of writing or things like that. So just keeping in mind, like, who are the people you work with? What are like different reference material, research, having that in like kind of a static knowledge folder, somewhere for meetings to go.
And Carl's being pretty humble about this, but actually putting in the time to build this, guys, I'm not kidding. It will 10x the outputs. So if you spend the hour to add in this really important context and then structure it in this way he said, the outputs you get will look nothing like the outputs somebody else using Claude Code is building. And that's how we talked about AI slop for a second, right, earlier. That's how you avoid that AI slop label.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so much cool stuff you can do with this type of knowledge in here. So one, people love this people folder, which is like kind of like a little dossier about like different people at your company. No one even ever has to see this, right? This can be your way that you communicate with those people, but there's or what you've learned about those people. But what's so cool is like now that Claude Code is becoming more central to all these, like you can connect to everything. You could, Granola, which is the meeting transcriber, I think, sponsor of this show, they have an MCP that connects. You can pull in your meeting notes, so you could literally have a workflow. Like you have a skill called like update people that would look at what did people say in the meeting that you just had with them, and then add notes around like what are the types of things they care about or don't care about into their file. And then when you go to draft a message to them or you're thinking about something related to them, you have this like really golden type of context from real meetings in here, and that just provides such a totally different level of information and specificity that you can give to these models than just saying, oh yeah, I'm my manager, he likes, curt communication or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so just having a somewhere for it to live so that then you can build on top of it is really the most important thing. I will say so having your knowledge folders like and meetings and stuff like that is helpful. I would say the other main one that I personally find is the like absolute most helpful thing for me is I have a project folder. And the way I use a projects folder is anytime I'm starting any kind of new task, like I'm preparing for this podcast, for example, I'll create a new folder called, product growth, Cloud Code, Ep 3. And then now anytime that I'm doing any work, like for example, like a real example for when I was preparing for this podcast is this is our third episode on Cloud Code. And so I said, I have my own like transcription. There's actually a YouTube transcribing CLI. So I said, hey, please grab the transcripts from our first two episodes. What did we cover? What did we not cover? And then it drops those into this folder. And then I say, okay, let's draft. What could we look at in this next episode? That goes in this folder. And so you kind of have a place for all that stuff to live. And what's so cool is that the next time, like let's say I leave Cloud Code or I'm on a different machine or it's just another day, instead of having to sort of figure out like, okay, what was all the information related to that project? What you can do is you can just literally take this folder and then I'm going to hold shift and you can just drop it in here and say, hey, we need to work on this board deck. Here's all the research I've done for before, get up to speed, and then let's work on it. And so the projects folder is it's just such a nice way to have everything be couched, somewhere in your system. And then next time you're coming back to it, it's all there. And then you archive it. But anytime you want to go back to it, you have all of the initial artifacts and anything else that you created with Claude Code all right there, right in that project folder.
Nice. So I think it might be worth people doing a one-time download to build a projects folder, right? So like, hey, here's our linear and our Notion. Please build out my last 5 projects folders. Pull the initial PRDs, pull the features, results, write-ups. And that's how you can practically implement this pretty fast.
Yep, exactly. And then just kind of like the very last thing to show, like once you do have this all set up, like what are some things that you can do? One, I'll just show quickly that people like a lot is you can have like a kind of start stand-up command. So what this does, start stand-up skill. So when we go to our skills and we look at stand-up, what this does is it will pull in information from GitHub. It'll pull it in from our tasks folder. It'll pull it in from our calendar. If we had our calendar connected, it'll check linear. And then it'll put it all together for us. I don't have all of that hooked up right now, but it'll use the information that it does have available locally. And so it'll go through and it will pull in all that information and all of those tools and all of those skills and all of those things that you have set up from this system. You can just start to mix and match them, and having it all in one place lets you just use all this stuff in like a completely different way, so that it just right there, it has all the information it needs without you having to go and check all those places, one by one. And so when I say I'm living in Claude Code all day, once you get to a certain point, it's like, oh my gosh, I do not want to have to leave Claude Code. Like, I do not want to have to go to check Google Analytics for how my website's doing. I really want to just be able to ask Claude, because then I can say, hey, how is my website traffic? And can you compare that to the post I've made on LinkedIn this week? And that would be almost an impossible analysis to do if I was just clicking into those individual UIs. But when you have Claude Code here set up and connected to everything, and you have a place for that information to go, then it just becomes more and more compounding and more powerful.
Here's the dirty secret about prototyping. You spend 2 weeks building a prototype. You validate your assumptions. Engineering loves the direction. Then what happens? You throw the whole thing away. Bolt changes this completely. When you prototype in Bolt, you're not building throwaway mockup. You're building real front-end code that integrates with your existing design system. So when you hand it to engineering, they don't throw it away. They ship on top of what you've built. I use Bolt every single day. I host my land PM job cohort on it. And honestly, I'm up till 2 a.m. some days just vibing in the tool, having fun, and building. That's when you know a product is good. When you're using it past midnight, not because you need to, but because you want to. Check out Bolt at bolt.new/Akash. That's bolt.new/AAKASH. Link in the show notes. Today's episode is brought to you by Amplitude. Replays of mobile user engagement are critical to building better products and experiences. But many session replay tools don't capture the full picture. Some tools take screenshots every second, leading to choppy replays and high storage costs from enormous capture sizes. Others use wireframes, but key moments go missing, creating gaps in your understanding. Neither approach gives you a truly mobile experience. Amplitude does things differently. Their mobile replays capture the full experience. Every tap, every scroll, and every gesture, with no lag and no performance hit. It's the most accurate way to understand mobile behavior. See the full story with Amplitude. I hope you enjoyed that short clip. You can check out the full episode here.